Udah, udah
जीना सरा है
Now we are going to start the Viva voce of Mr. Pius Thomas, and that I think welcome Dr. Jenna from Bhubaneswar XPI. So he has evaluated very nicely, and Mr. Pius also has incorporated the changes. So now we can proceed for the Viva. Our next external examiner will be joining shortly. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, esteemed members of the panel. Professor.
We'll be focusing more to the research gap.
Okay.
That is once again we'll revert onto it.
Yeah.
Less focus on the review of literature, then we'll focus on the framework.
Okay.
And as we are also experiencing academics, you may state the way you also deliver your lecture, the way you are focusing your subject. This is more about the teaching method.
Okay, understood.
We'll focus on it with the implication. That will be the next.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We will do that. Thank you very much. My guide is Dr. Madanish and myself, Pius Thomas, Associate Professor at T. John College. Next slide. See, when I go through this one, as you have said, I will be focusing on research gap. Maybe that framework is more on this one, and then how it is, what is the implication of the research work and all. Some of the suggestions given by the external is like this, and one of the suggestions was to give what is called as the conclusion to be not into the bullet points, but give a brief about it. And then theoretical implications to be mentioned clearly with the framework as well as the concepts, which I have reworked this one and incorporated into thesis. And also the what is called as the methodology, which is adopted into this one. Why this only 3 teaching methodologies and all of the methodologies in one is been explained clearly in this one in case of interpretation of that one. And then one of the suggestions which is given is the sampling structure, which I have incorporated with that why it is selected these 8 institutions. The next one is we'll start with this introduction. When I was thinking about having a research on this teaching process, it's because of my passion. Now, what I have learned is that teaching, evaluation, and based on the learning outcome is mostly done in only one level of what is called as cognitive level, which is prescribed by Bloom's taxonomy. Whereas in case of many of those evaluations, we are restricting into the what is called as cognitive levels of understanding, memorizing, things like that, up to evaluation and creativity. Whereas the motivation and emotion is not being measured in many of those examinations, especially in case of written examinations. Then this 3 teaching methodology I have concluded out of 11 methods, which I have studied in detail and then found out this one. And most of the teachers are worried about the learning outcome. Therefore, this which I have made it to the point of what is the teacher's characteristics and how it is been delivered in the classroom and how it will impact the students' learning. When I was thinking about these 3 levels and then the learning outcomes which I was thinking of measuring, out of all these measures, Williams taxonomy, Mazzano, Kendall's and Defink's taxonomy, these are the measures of learning outcome, but it's only measuring about the intelligent level, not about any of those kind of emotional level or affective level or relationship or any of those things. Bloom's taxonomy has a good measure, but at the same time, most of the universities and higher education institutions years of teaching is teachers adopt different methods, but at the same time, learning outcome depends on the students' ability and their characteristics and their background and their culture. A lot of factors are there. And then there's one other thing which I have found out is a learning style, like VARK, visual, auditory, reading, and so on. Based on this also, teaching methodology can influence those kind of learning style also. Next one. relevance of the topic is, which I have taken is, many of these universities, when I have gone through the teaching methodologies practiced in the world renowned universities and business schools and all, this is some of the prominent methods which are used in these universities. Harvard Business School prominently used case study method. And most of the business in Harvard means USA is given to Harvard Business School for their solutions. And then Stanford University using a lot of Socratic methods. Not in every subject, but then mostly used for theoretical subjects. London School of Economics is more into those economic and creative studies, therefore project-based learning is being used. And that was one of some of my findings in case of my research also it can be revealed. Next. See, when you are looking into the rationale of the topic, you can see that the innovation, educational improvement, evidence-based practices, and evidence-based practices means that most of the people want to know how it has been happening and how the students are learning. Unfortunately, one of the problems which is evident is students' learning outcome is measured only one way, which is called as written examination. That too, a closed book examination, which their memorized reproduction is happening more. Teachers' professional development and educational policy impact. This has been one of the very good impact of the study in case of and the students centered education. Whenever we are teaching some group of students, we need to find out what are their backgrounds and things like that. Next one. These are the 4 methods which I have taken and the 3 prominent methods, and then all other methods culminated into one. Socratic method basically by asking questions. Next, case study method by the step-by-step process of solving the event or a case or a process. That has been done extensively by most of the business school professors. Next. Next one. Project-based studies is used for most of the mini projects as well as the long-term project. And especially the schools like London School of Economics is using this project-based method into details. Some of this research paper which I have gone through is also giving a simultaneous research based on project-based studies as well as problem-based studies. Whereas problem-based studies like mathematical or statistical subjects, or in case of accounting and financial subjects, also useful. Bloom's taxonomy, as I have explained, there are 3 levels. Out of 3 levels, the first level is called as cognitive learning. This cognitive learning is mostly evaluated by almost all the universities and institutes. So here in my research, which I have studied to try to find out, is that the 3 higher learning outcomes, that is evaluate, analyze, create. These 3 learning outcomes, which is mostly to be visible in case of classroom session as well as evaluation methods, including the question paper making. In case you have got an open book examination or a closed book examination, it has to be different. Next. The literature which I have reviewed is mostly into these areas. Around 256 resources I have reviewed. Out of that, the books there are 6 and teaching methods I have reviewed around 67 articles and research methodologies around 64 and the conceptual framework around 15 and Socratic method is mostly done by many of these universities and research articles, and the case study method few, because most of the case study methods are always visible for most of the people. Project-based teaching I have referred around 11, and Bloom's taxonomy, out of the 4 taxonomy of learning outcome measurement, I have taken Bloom's taxonomy and then gone through those articles of 23. Next one. When I am looking into the research gap, only which is very closely related, I have put it here. The effective teaching methods, which has been given in that's a book written by Gary. And in this book, which is given, is the teaching methods and understanding of the students and background can be connected. But it does not study about these teaching methodologies and also the learning outcomes specifically mentioned. The next one is, in this one, there are a survey of 12 strategies which are given to measure the teaching effectiveness. But in this also, the measure of teaching effectiveness based on the students' rating and the peer rating or even self-evaluation or alumni ratings has been prescribed, but not into this kind of evaluating based on teaching methodologies based on learning outcome. It's not measured in the even this article also. Next one. Here it is a Bloom's taxonomy is specifically given as a collaborative learning style, whereas it is a research article written by Tanya, and this is illustrating how to apply the andragogy principles. Andragogy principle means student-centric learning. And in this one, what is missing is do not specify what method will be more effective for the teaching. The next one is here again another one which I have taken is Bloom's taxonomy based on question analysis. This is one of the things that the quality of examination or process of making question paper is being discussed thoroughly. The examination is treated to be the most effective measure. In this article, it is very clearly mentioned about how to frame the question paper or how to measure the learning outcome. But it is not not mentioning about what teaching method will give you the best outcome. Next one is innovative methods of teaching, a research paper written by Dr. Damodaran and Dr. Rangarajan. This is one of the traditional methods of teaching as well as the multimedia teaching. Using of technology in this one is when learning outcome has been improved, but do not specifically mention about what method or which teaching method will give you what outcome. That's again, it's lacking there. Few very important research which I have mentioned here. I have mentioned almost 50 into my research cases. Next one. When I have taken into the research design, I have thought about this question of next slide. Question is how this each method of teaching, like Socratic method, case study method, or project-based teaching, can influence the teaching learning outcome and do that to a higher learning outcome, because everyone is bothered about their understanding or application, whereas not bothered about analytical ability or creativity or evaluation. So basically, I wanted to measure these three teaching methodologies and then what is its impact on the three higher learning outcomes. The next one. So I have made the objectives in this one. Each method of Socratic method of teaching, case study method of teaching, as well as project-based method of teaching. And then one of the other method which is taken for my analysis is any other teaching method. So all of the teaching methods will include in the fourth one, all measured into the three cases of higher learning, that is creativity, analytical ability, and evaluation. Next one. So this is the framework which I have made. It is the four teaching methodologies into one side. And then all these factors affecting, there are 18 variables which each of this I have found out about the teaching methodologies, how the students feel and perceive about the teaching method. And then learning outcome, which is I have measured, is there are 6 levels of cognitive level of Bloom's taxonomy. Out of that, higher learning outcomes, analytical ability, creativity, and evaluation, I have measured it thoroughly into the details. Next one. So each hypothesis is made out of that one. Therefore, as I have told you, about 4 teaching methodologies and 3 learning outcomes, higher learning outcomes. So 4 into 3 learning outcomes each. So 12 hypotheses I have prepared. Each hypothesis says there is no significant impact on Socratic teaching methods and to analytical ability, or same way to creativity or evaluation. So this the 12 hypothesis which I have prepared. Next slide is this is according to all the teaching methodologies into all these hypotheses which is tested. Next, I have arrived to a conclusion about the sampling methods of 397 sample size, and this is the reason which I have come to know. This sampling technique is around 1.6 lakhs students are in Bangalore studying management programs, either MBA or PhD programs. Out of that, 6 lakhs, some of the higher education institutions of a little bit higher grade will have that knowledge about these teaching methodologies. So I have selected 4 institutions or autonomous institutions and 4 affiliated institutions. And during that time, these 2 institutions were affiliated institutes of the university. Now it has become the university. Next one. Why this sample size is taken exclusively for these colleges, and so only one of the reason is that reputational recognition. These colleges, the students and the faculty members have the knowledge about the teaching methods, and also they have the perception about what should be the learning outcome. Second one was the diversity, which I have looked into, autonomous as well as affiliated colleges. Collaboration was another reason, because I had the people known from this institution, it was easy for me to collect the data. Performance of the students also, most of this business school ranking will come in the case of these areas. Therefore, it was easy for me to find out these institutions and the students with the collecting of my data. Next. This is the research flowchart which I have prepared. As I told you that first I have thought about teaching methodologies and then find out how it is been measuring and what is the difficulty. Then I concluded with the 11 methods. There were many methods which are spread into different articles, but then I have concluded with 11 methods. And out of 11 methods, these 3 proven methods when selected. Then I have gone for the impact of these methods to the learning outcomes. So started measuring the learning outcomes. I have come to know about the Bloom's taxonomy as well as Williams taxonomy, which is most relevant for these methods. Then I have concluded with the based on these methods, which can be tested with the these 3 Bloom's taxonomy of learning outcome. And then I have concluded with the 4 teaching methodologies and concluded with the what is called as the learning outcome of only 3 higher learning stages. Objectives and hypotheses prepared accordingly, and then design the statistical tools, which I could do it ANOVA, factor analysis, regression analysis, and then descriptive analysis also I have done it. So the next one is the data analysis. I have, based on this sample, I have taken the test and significance level is less than 0.05. The next one, and then only those impacting factors of 18 variables. Each variable is designed according to the student's perception about the learning outcome. So therefore, one of the things which I was thinking earlier is to find out whether their examination result will reveal those learning outcomes. But the examination result is only minimum, whereas the perception of the students is maximum. So in looking into that respondents review, you can see these values which are very high correlation between 0.966 and all for memorizing and analyzing. Next one, creativity and evaluation. For each method, I have done this factor analysis. So just go to that. Yeah, then wait. Yeah. Application and the creativity for this is the any other teaching method. So whereas in case of application and creativity, in case of any other teaching method, it's the low value. Next one. Here. You can see this one in this Socratic method. I have tested with analytical ability, and then Socratic method as well as all the other 4 methods also. But in case of analytical ability, you see that Socratic method has got 3.89. Even the regression values as well as the correlation is having highest value in case of Socratic method. Whereas I was thinking that analytical ability may be possible in the project-based or a case study method. But in case of the teachers, right questions will instigate that one. You see that 3.89 for Socratic method, whereas 3.77 for project-based. Next one. Similarly, I have done for evaluation for statistical analysis for evaluation is that Socratic method is 3.69, whereas you see that in case of evaluation, 3.81 is a score for case study method. Better evaluation may happen for case study method. Similarly for project-based also. And the third one is the score of creativity. You look into this the score, even all the 3 analysis which gives the figure that project-based teaching and learning will have, this is 3.89. That's the maximum score for that one, project-based. So based on that one, I have made a conclusion of at the end also after regression analysis. This next slide. You can see the significance level less than 0.05, and then all the regression analysis is made for Socratic method. Next, even the Socratic method for evaluation. Next, creativity, and each level I have found out the significant value as well as tested with all the variables. As I told you that 18 variables are tested with this one. This is the evaluation regression made for the case study method. Next, this is for the project-based learning, analytical ability. Next one is evaluation. And then the last one is creativity through project-based learning. Yeah. Now, if I can summarize all these findings, if you can look into this one, it's one of the very interesting outcomes that I have found out is Socratic method. The topmost priority of learning outcome is analytical ability or analysis, and the next comes to creativity and then evaluation. Whereas in case of case study, evaluation comes into the rank 1, whereas analysis and creativity is the next 2. Whereas in case of project-based learning, creativity comes to this one. Even almost regression analysis also will give you the same values. Creativity comes first and then evaluation and the analysis. So one of very interesting topic, and then when the students come to know about this learning outcome, their improvement is further better. Whenever you're looking into any other teaching method or like lecture method or a demonstration or a classroom demonstration, any of those other methods, you see that understanding, application, and the memory, which is more tested. One of the difficulty which the teachers face is that when they make the question paper also, they will have that question of testing their memory or understanding. Next one. The teaching faculty members, around 80 people I have interviewed, not the questionnaire given, but the personal interview which is conducted. Out of that, I have come to the analysis this way. The teaching experience is very less also, it will affect their teaching ability, whereas it is very high also, it may affect because they have become something which is monotonous. Whereas you look into this figure, 2 to 5 years of experience in teaching, they are using most of the teaching into case study method. This is only about these 8 institutions where I have done the research. And in the 8 institutions, most of the teachers up to 2 to 5 years of experience will use case study method. Whereas in case of 5 to 10 years or so, if you are looking into 2 to 10 years of previous slide, please. This experience, you see that they are using most of the case study method than the Socratic method, and a few of the teachers using project-based learning also. Any other teaching methodology is not used by many of those teachers, whereas people who have got more experience into teaching may not be using any of these prominent methods exclusively. Next one. Here you see that learning outcome, which is where the teacher's perception about learning outcome is. You see that understanding, application and all, it's always possible. Whereas in case of analysis, evaluation and creativity, teachers feel that Socratic method gives more of analysis. You see that perception, you can see that analysis is having the highest percentage, whereas evaluation for case of case study method, the red bar is case study method, and creativity is more into the project-based learning. This is the teacher's perception about the learning outcome of the students. Next one. Next. Major findings, as I have already told you, that the correlation, regression, as well as factor analysis, they have done the testing of all the hypotheses, and it's reflecting all this basic learning outcome is still possible with all the teaching methodologies. Whereas teaching subjects like statistics, mathematics, or accountancy, maybe problem-based teaching can be used. But then in addition to this methods, next one. And in case of analytical ability, as it is being visible in the previous slide, that result will show the analytical ability more into Socratic method, whereas evaluation for case study, and then each what is called as the project-based method for creativity, and then concepts and models will be created by the students. Next. And the same, all the 12 hypothesis results I have input here. That is each method, how it is been. Especially when you look into all the 3 case teaching methods, all the final outcomes are, or higher learning outcomes are being possible with all these methods into different variation of the degrees. The next. Scope for further research. This research is done into a city called as Bangalore, and most of the business schools into Bangalore is being tested. When I have seen this one, this study may be conducted into other cities of India. The results may be different because of the background of students. Then the students' maturity and the goal achieving is something which is to be worried about. Because when I was teaching into the foreign country, the one of the condition for the students to join MBA is minimum 10 years of work experience. That will have a different outcome itself for the learning outcome itself, because students wanted to learn, not the teachers wanted to teach. But in here it is the majority of the students is only because of that parents send their children to even post graduation also. Awareness of various teaching methodologies are into 2-tier or 3-tier institutions are not available also. In many of the teachers are not aware about those things. Culture, practices, and employment opportunities, challenges of that one will always affect the son, unless in other countries it is possible. Next. One of the limitation of this study is also that only that in case of the culture and the background of students into different cities may be affecting their learning outcome. This study is limited to these 3 teaching methodologies which I have selected. Maybe some of those methods. There is one method which is suggested by one of this Italian city, Giglio method, which is student-centric learning. But then many of those teaching methodologies can be tested this way, but from only which is these 3 methods prominently have tested here. Maybe that one so on. Next one. Now, after doing my research analysis, I have gone through some of those literature again with the latest ones. And then some of these researchers articles which are showing that the Socratic method of teaching will help the students to achieve their dreams. And then this one that I have done with the extensive with the Socratic method is ability to analyze and finding solution is possible with my analysis which I have done. That's the findings of my research. Next. Previous one. Yeah, this one. Now, the last one which I have done is just the questionnaire I have done the pilot study. Third one, this one is enhancing case-based studies is for learning in education for sustainability. That's one of the research article which I have, which can be connected with my research. But one of the limitation of that research is it's of sustainability studies in education. But what I have done is interconnected with the diverse sustainability practice and job skills, including the sustainability, knowledge, skills, and capacities of the students. Next one. Here, the comparison which I have made is there's every synopsis, every hypothesis I have tested, which identified one article for that one. The quantity versus quality based in project-based learning. Then many of those projects are like that. But then here, the study involved into 19 companies, that one is one. But then that research is giving organization learning to analyze their findings and report the challenges faced by the project-based firms. This is company-based, project-based only. But in my studies, what I have done is that it is linked to organization learning, to employability skills, variation, and students' learning outcome, especially about this methodology of project-based. Here, this article, it's only project is given to the employees into the organization. Next. Some of the suggestions and recommendations given is, it can be subject-based. Each subject faculty member can what is called as adopt a model which is most suitable for the subject. Again, in each subject, depending on the student's background or their cultural background, you can change the teaching style. Maybe a combination of the Socratic method or case study, or a case study method with a project. Things like that will be working better. That is one of the very good things which I have found out in this one. In case of some subjects and even that many times students are not aware about what is the learning outcome expected. That's the reason that when you make the curriculum, we say that course outcomes and objective of the courses and each chapter or modules. So based on the objectives or modules, even modules, we can also plan for a teaching methodology. Next. One of the suggestions is work experience before coming for an MBA study or a postgraduate management study is important. The thing is that they will have their attitude or behavior based on their experience, and then they have more strength experience and more into seriousness into the studies. The next one is most of the research schools, you say, considering what is called as the affiliated institution, especially that's limitation is they are worried about completing the syllabus because they are affiliated to university and the question paper is designed by the university. And here this sixth one is one of the most important is why do a student do a postgraduate study in management is just for completing the degree or getting a certificate. But the purpose of education is more serious into the people who are really looking for learning knowledge and the capabilities. The next one is out of the conclusion which I have made, many of these teaching methods can be used for different subjects, but most prominently Socratic method can be used for principles of management, ethics, organizational behavior, human resource management, etc. Analytical ability, evaluation, creativity are highly influenced by Socratic method. Most influenced learning outcome of Socratic method is analytical ability. Case study method can be used for international business, marketing management, organizational behavior. This is a combination of different subjects, but then case study is mostly used by the faculty members of institution where I have done the research. Next. Project-based learning can be used for most of these projects like projects and operations and production and operation management, international business, international finance, and business analytics. Especially these kind of foreign trade operations are one of the good one is the give the project to the students and they will have better learning. And the third one is Socratic method and analytical ability, as I already mentioned. Any other teaching method is only used for understanding, memorizing, and application. But most of our teachers are learning this one or teaching methods which are applied in the schools and +2 levels is 3 levels only. A comparison as a project-based and this one it is done can be done with a project-based or with a case study or a case study with a Socratic method, or not the best method for some of the concepts to be taught. Business students, management students, background of the students is entirely different from India and other countries. And then when we are experiencing that, so the learning outcome is also expected to be changed because of their expectations. And then in India, postgraduate students are sponsored by the parents only. Whereas when I have experienced other countries that they are sponsoring, either they are collecting their own money and studying or they are sponsored by the companies. When they are sponsored by the companies, they are indebted to the company. They need to give the result, otherwise it will not be possible. Higher learning outcome is possible when it is being done like that. Finally, a word of thanks to my guide, Dr. Danish, Dr. Raman, for giving me this opportunity. Since 7 years, I'm doing this research work. I'm extremely grateful to Professor Rao. He has been my guide and the Vice Chancellor of the university when I started this research. And I'd like to thank Professor J.B. Patnaik, the Registrar, and Professor Barik and Dr. Runa. These people were really helpful when I started doing the project till now for doing my project. The next slide, please. Dr. Danish is my guide and he has guided me all this finalizing my thesis and bringing me to this stage. Dr. Sudipta was my helper for doing all the analysis, exclusively that statistical analysis being helped by him. Dr. Hariharan, Dr. Satyendra Kishore, and Dr. Ashima. These 3 people were immense help for me whenever I come for the presentation, in the progress presentation. Whenever I was coming, people were helping. My co-guide was Dr. Karthikeyan. He was also working in my college and now he left. So he was also giving me those theoretical framework and things like that. I am also thankful to Dr. Vijay Singh, former registrar, and Dr. Swain. I had a word with them also for coming for this program. Thanks to all the people in the university for helping me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for enlightening us.
Basically, there were 9 different components by university has given to me as an external examiner a priori to evaluate the thesis. I think most of the comments you have addressed, barring one comment wherein you have discussed with your guide and you have said that you should not change the title. Wise to it, but I have a query so that as your guide is in, obviously.
Actually, one of the suggestions that was given by that guy, changing the title was good, but provided when I looked into the title at the end, this may be changed, but when I change the title, then there is
Yeah, that you have mentioned, but basically the thesis is gravitating towards pre-post test comparison. That's what a t-test you have done it.
Yeah.
So why not you have thought of adopting? Why you have thought of just reserving it as a study of PG students of management instead of saying that it's a pre-post test comparison?
Okay, maybe after the pilot study test, Professor Rao at the time he has suggested that do not go into the so instead of that cost edit management would have been better. That's the reason I kept it like that.
I think this is for everybody's. There are 2 taxonomies that predominantly influences the field of learning. One is the Bloom's taxonomy and the other one is the Williams taxonomy. I think Bloom's taxonomy was talking about the 3 levels, cognitive, affective, and sensory, whereas Williams taxonomy was talking about cognitive and affective.
Yeah.
But now in the whole the thesis, we are not talking about affective or sensory. We are focusing only onto the cognitive part of it. When it gets to the affective domain, which was proposed by Williams, he was saying that the affective skills are more in terms of risk taking. You have mentioned also
Relationship building and
curiosity. Yeah, it's about emotional emotions, it's about complexity, it's about imagination. Now, when it comes to 3 methods, I think you have mentioned about case method, project method, and also the Socratic method. Case method primarily used by Harvard, Socratic method by Stanford, and project-based learning method by LSE. So now, when it comes to the affective domain, the affective domain of Williams taxonomy says about risk-taking, curiosity. So, do we feel that the project-based learning or a case method of learning invokes that kind of interest among students because they need to be imaginative, they need to be curious?
Yeah, that's one of the things which I was thinking. But any of this evaluation criteria we are using it. Most of the universities, especially this institution where I have studied, they are not testing any of these levels. For example, in affective level, any of the event attitude building or behavioral standard or relationship building, emotional content, any of these things are not measured by it. Whereas most of these institutions are giving it. If you look into the IIT University is giving extensive training in the skill-based training, as well as students interpersonal relationship. Very good in this field. When I have taken the students to the villages and given them experience, that learning is very good, but then there is no measure of measuring it. That is one of the difficulties which I have faced.
But sir, when we are talking about the case method of learning, I think ICFI was up to case method. Basically, the IKC, the textbooks that ICFI used to have small caselets. And basically, those caselets are used in the classroom. I recall also 15 years back, we were using it. I was using it, and now all of you will be using it. We were trying to cause the imaginative skill of the student. Okay. So hopefully, effective domain has also been tapped in. I think Harvard, for the 100 years, Harvard has come with the case method of learning, which every schools and universities are adopting. I think also you have mentioned about it. Now, case method actually captures about the imaginative and creative ability of a student. So therefore, to an extent, it talks about the effective domain. Similarly, when it comes to the project-based learning, it was applied by London School of Economics. In different universities course curriculum, and some of my friends are there in IIM Ranchi also. They went for it, and also in Exile, we used to apply project-based learning as a component of every course. And project-based learning provides them an exposure of how to build up an interpersonal skills among the group, how to take the risk of knowing about a company, reaching over there, getting the data and information, learning and relating the theory that they are learning in that class see that that is being in practice, coming back to the class and presenting their findings. It's all about a risk taking. This is all about also, in a undefined terrain, they should go venture and that will be a complex business they should learn and bring up. So effective domain is actually being capped.
So that's one of the very interesting things which I was also thinking that though almost all the institutions are doing it, but measuring is not done, I think. But also institutions are based on different, but anyway, students also not like that, but employability skill is always required, and then all the institutions, all organizations are looking for that only. Students behave standard and then impossible for change.
When it comes to, sir, also the learning outcome, teaching method disobey the learning outcome. You have nicely quoted, which I have noted it down also while traveling. It's like understanding is more important than listening. Knowledge is more important than opinion. Practical application is more important than theories.
Yes,
I think this is what also the goal of NEP says. So, yeah, obviously. And when you are stating about, also you mentioned that there are, apart from that case and project-based method of learning, there is something called as any other teaching method.
Yeah.
What are the components there?
Actually, when I was selecting the three methods, and Professor Rao was questioning me, what are the other teaching methods which you can think about it? Then I have come out with 11 methods, 11 teaching methods. That demonstration, flip to classroom, and then sending students to a field and field study. Many of these methods are there. But all these methods are culminating into these three, basically coming to the only. That is the reason that we said. But anyway, if there is any variable which can be affecting of any other teaching methods, put all those things into one category called any other teaching method, so that you will get a.
So you have categorized as
Into that.
say in the time of pandemic. So what was the best teaching methodology out of it?
In case of pandemic, only difference which was made is from the face-to-face classroom to the online teaching. But in online teaching,
But in online teaching, any of the method that we are suggesting,
it is also possible. Why it is possible is that when we are sending a project or any of those things to the students, any assignments or any of this work which is giving to the students and explaining to the students, any of this teaching methodology. So there is not much difference about teaching methodologies and whether the teaching is online or offline.
so when you see Indian education system, which part of system that we are adopted with? I think these schools they are adopted with the case method. When you see IIMA, they are more on case method. When it comes to IIMC, they are more on to analytical. They are more onto a project based. Now, when we see in a same country, two different methods are pioneered by different institutions, what kind of methodology that in India primarily people are following now?
Actually, when I look at the little bit high standard institutions like IIM Bangalore or IIMs or SIME or FI, any of these good standard business schools are not following this kind of teaching. But many other teaching schools and colleges or post-graduate also, teachers are recent origin, do not have experience and do not be aware about it. They always do a trial and error. This trial and error method, they will come to a conclusion this method is one. But the problem with the inexperienced teachers is that they don't look into the learning outcome. They are only looking into their effectiveness, how class is managed.
So how in T-John actually faculties are, what kind of teaching method?
Yeah, actually, we are having some of the innovative teaching methods. It's a combination of Socratic as well as case studies. We are single case now. It also depends on the management policy, which I have seen into this Christ University and XIME and any of the institutions. Management policy towards the academic progress depends. So then I'm given the freedom that I am giving credit to those other teachers, other department teachers also. One I be giving this, I tell them that we use a method according to that OPT prepare for the teaching methodology so that it will be very effective.
Okay. Evaluation methodology, which is a part of course learning, in course outline designed for each of the course. The evaluation methodology actually governs the teaching.
Yes.
So now, suppose say if a credit or 3 credit course you run, I hope so that you Every pre-credit course, how many evaluation methodologies one teacher needs to have? And what kind of evaluation methodology have in place to measure the course outcome?
Actually, one of the limitations of the universities is the course outcomes based on number of credits which are awarded. That number of credits is to take for one credit 10 hours or 15 hours of class that is. And then a return examination or an assignment. That is the condition for every credit should be given. But when you are evaluating that this credit system, you don't specifically do not say about which learning outcome is expected. And then you are making recipe problem with all. But then, in fact, what I have done is almost all the teachers are given a training for how to make a good question paper. Even the same training we have done in 5 years. One of the easiest thing for when they are setting good question paper, they need to teach them about it.
Absolutely.
That
That is the reason many educational institutions, especially B schools, they go for ACSB accreditation.
Yes.
Apart from the NAC accreditation. ACSB predominantly they say that every course outline need to have a course learning outcome, which they call it as CLO. And CLO need to be tied up with PLO, the program learning outcome.
Yes.
So this tying up need to have an influence on your evaluation methodology. Accordingly, your teaching methods are supposed to be governed.
That is what. Now, one of the limitations we all have is we all depend on the written exam. And even written examination also close to book exam. That will be affecting the evaluation criteria because students are basically used all these kind of learning outcome is not possible in the written exam.
So, say in T. John's College, actually, are you having a semester pattern of learning or a semester? So, in a semester, it's a 6 months of span.
Yeah.
Wherein a course will be given with 3 or 5 credit of.
Yeah.
Every course will be of
4 credits.
4 credits. So, in 4 credits, how the students are being evaluated? Is it through a mid and end semester exam?
No, there are 3 level of evaluation. One is the continuous evaluation. Continuous evaluation for 30 marks. First 30 marks is divided. Out of that 30 marks divided into 6 criteria. Their personal individual presentation, case study is presented, and project is done. Each area they need to present it and then show their ability. So there we are measuring all these stuff.
So the continuous learning out evaluations is the best.
Yes.
Sir, when it comes to one of the best part of this particular thesis is, post carrying out the research, the findings itself, you have compared the research finding with the available literature, and therein you are justifying that whether my findings are corroborating the literature, etc.
Yes, that is Dr. Bridanish has told me.
Credit goes to that for that reason, because hardly any PhD they conduct the literature review, sir. After the introduction, they carry on the methodology and they follow the discussion and implications and conclusion. One such study, wherein you actually have compared the research finding that you have got it, post to it, and you have referred some of the very recent literature from some of the sage books, some of the research literature you had produced.
Even in this way.
2019.
Yeah, 2019 and 20, I have done that. Again, one more stage of the literature. The reason is, Sir has told me that after COVID, if there is any change which has been observed, find out.
That is the best way. I think you will be placing a paper after
This one
exam. You can highlight about this. This will be a great takeaway. Hardly anything. This is learning for me also.
One more thing which I want to ask is, this, as you said that now, we could do a further study. Inside, I told my students to do a project. Their project is teaching the research methodology subject only. So in that I told the students, how do you find evaluate this learning outcome which is effective, like master question or behavior background or attitude development.
The learning outcomes out of the course you mean to say, or
They are totally learning, not based on the subject.
the subject? For example,
How the students can develop judgment and how this can be taught in the school.
it obviously depends on the kind of courses that you are doing. For example, if you are teaching a course on research methodology, RM, so what should be the evaluation methodology we can adopt?
Yeah.
One of the methods that we can think of is giving them some randomized data wherein they can analyze. That's the way we can measure their quantitative ability that they learn from your class.
Okay, good.
So dummy data been given. I recall that when I was a student of RM in my PhD days, were the then professor used to give a set of data wherein we do the analysis in the class, putting calculator in hand and doing all the calculations, including we did for coefficient correlation calculations also we did.
I think that's one of the.
It was the case.
That was like you had to do it in hand. So this is one, because that's the way. The best part is we were learning about the equation that is followed to come out with the solution. So we still remember Pearson coefficient correlations equation of R.
Yeah.
Because hardly in today's time, manually you may be putting up, injecting the data in SPSS itself to show the correlation. You may not be knowing the equation. So wise to make our people aware about the equation of it. Few equations, not more than that.
Yeah.
And post to it, we have to take them, elevate them to the platform of SPSS or AMOS, so that they can see, they can they can calculate it by imputing the data and knowing about the technique of which button they have to press so as to get that. And post to it, if they want to see visualization of the data, they can go for analysis of momentum structure, AMOS, or say Lisrael, etc. So that is the way we have been tutored. So this is one evaluation method.
What we should know how to do.
Absolutely, sir. That is one, the quantitative. When it comes to the qualitative methods, I think it is wise to provide them with an experience of going to a field and give them a micro project. Say you are tapping on the emotional quotient of it. Let them go, exposed to the society, meet a set of people, get their opinion, come back. After that, they can make a thematic analysis. What kind of themes they are emerging out of that. Similarly, they can go for sensitivity, sentiment analysis to understand the sentiment of the people. Which one will be? There are different softwares available. Very easy to, and that will be freely available. You can provide it to them, they can do. And that's the way you can evaluate their qualitative.
Actually, one of the work which I have given me good at these when I was teaching economics, one of the values which I have told them to do is you think that the governments even three things to the people is good or bad. Everyone said it's good, so what is to be done? So giving the rice and the good items or giving some free education or that, which one is good? So I told them to just make a evaluation about two governments. Two governments. They
Evaluate and compare.
Yes. Compare with the system. So when they do that, if they do have the thinking ability, which the government is doing better, or which the government is doing only for the road side.
I have only one or two.
Yeah.
I think, sir, one more thing that you mentioned about it is about the factor analysis.
Yeah.
One of your friend might have helped you in acknowledgement. Just need to check the KMO values, the Kaiser-Meyer measure of sampling. Though the significance level is 0.01, but it is expected that the KMO value is supposed to lie between 0.8 to 1. That means that you are confirming the adequacy of the sample. But in your case, the KMO value is 0.552. We checked.
Yeah. But one of the things that what is this thing of that
0.6 is the ideal for the correlation. But when it comes to KMO calculation, it should be 0.8 and above. If you are putting up a paper, kindly check with your base data. And you have to see that it is falling in that range. Because otherwise, any reviewer may question.
Yeah.
And sir, another thing, when you were asking a set of questions, like there was a variable 8 where you have asked a question, do you agree that the activity you got the value as per your house. So it is ideally normal, but the values should be more than 0.6. So that if you check the reliability of it, I mean the run back alpha later, that it will fall as 0.7 and above. Because if it is falling below 0.5, obviously it will have an effect to it. There is another thing, like when it comes to the statistical analysis for teaching method, you have validated saying that Socratic method is one that is most relied method across your sample, and therefore the p-value is absolutely in significance level,
Okay.
and that is the dominant method
Okay.
compared to project-based, case, and any other method. But in case of the other three methods, when you see any other method, it has got a p-value of close to 1. That means that any other methods that you have advised is not actually an ideal method as such. So that need to be actually spoken explicitly when you are writing about the discussion, wherever you are going to place the paper.
Okay.
In the graph also, you have shown that people with 2 to 5 years of experience and 5 to 8 years of experience, they are predominantly they're using the case method and project based.
Yes.
But when it goes to 10 plus years of experience, you have shown that everybody are in the bar line of it.
Yeah.
No method they are using. Why is it so?
It's actually what is that one of the problem with the HR case is very less number of people are
The sample size of that.
I agree. It's again one more thing. Then many of those professors with high experience are not ready to give a response in the interview. It was a questionnaire go down, but since I have done a personal interview, they are not ready to give a proper response for this questions.
When it comes to the sample respondent also, marketing specialization students were more and international business students were very less. So
One of the difficulty for me for selecting any of the institutions if I selected number of students selecting this specialization was not that.
So then in that case, why not to eliminate them? Because 15 people comprising of 4% of the sample is negligible. Because if you are taking a cross sample, a sample size of less than 10% is negligible.
Okay.
Because we cannot infer any significant value out of it.
Particular subject.
So by the way, this is all about my observations. And I'm very happy about it that this is a very evolved well. Primarily the methods that you have mentioned. Obviously, bit of changes here and there. If you will be adopting it, it will be appealing to the one paper you have published. And please do continue research findings. So that will be more.
You can research to take care of case of my
Yeah. Method and learning outcome. You can target to a journal called Journal of Workplace Learning. Publisher. I'm also tied up with that journal. So this Scopus and Ability Index. Reaching case in then will be coming to be.
So what is the by if I do it, that you only after the other for if I want to take it to be better study.
If you go for some of the management schools who are using project-based learning, I think it will focus more on a project-based learning.
Okay.
And therein you can chalk out the effective domain of the Bloom's taxonomy. It will be
also the effective I can view the questionnaire based on the property.
that also you can do. What say? I also we are in the faculties. All of us need to think about it in terms of not just publishing paper, thinking about case publication.
Case publication.
Find out some of the good universities or institutions who are promoting case method of learning. So therein you can actually tap in and write a case. That is the best way. Yeah, I think case journals like Emerald Emerging Marketing Case Journal, IV Case, these are some of the best sources wherein you will get recognition also for writing, because a lot of professors are writing papers in Scopus and APDC, but hardly very few are actually venturing into this case method. Yes. So if you will convert one B school taking it up and then converting it in the form of a case will be more best. Case comprises of a case and a teaching note. You can have a teaching note added to it, which will be also disseminated to the. Yeah, you better target for IV.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chana. It was really lot of learning for us also. Now, I request our second external examiner, Professor Dr. Meeta Jha from Ravi Shankar University, to share his inputs and ask questions to our scholar. I want you to stand here. Yes, please. Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Mute idea.
Good afternoon, all of you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
But it is very elaborative, and the examiner who has asked questions, it is well enough. And there is, I don't have any questions. Just whatever I want, the examiner has already asked, and I am thankful to all because some connectivity issues are there. So I'm sorry for the delay for my part, and I think the questions, whatever arises in this, Mr. Thomas has already defined all the questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
From my side, no query is there because he has already clarified the queries.
Okay.
Thank you, Rumna.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, with permission of both the external examiners, we congratulate Mr.
Yes,
Pius.
yes. From my side, I am congratulating Mr. Thomas to have the doctoral degree from your university, and thanks to VC sir, examiner, and Dr. Rumna.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
क्या नाम है कैंडिडेट का? कैंडिडेट का नाम क्या है?
Mr. Thomas.
उनको हैप्पी ओणम बोल दो आज.
And today is Onam also. Onam festival is there. Because I'm using some other's phone, he is saying that, give thanks for Onam to Mr. Thomas.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Happy
Okay,
Onam.
Congratulations.
thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
So, ma'am, with your kind permission, can I have a snap
May
with
the
all of
blessings of King
outside the
Mahabali
back?
bless everyone.
Yes, Mr. Abdullah. Mr. Nipak, switch on your video.
Okay. Now, should I leave? Should I leave?
Sir, you can.
Okay.
Here? Yes. Yeah, all of us. And yeah. Sir, you can come at the center.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Susan, ma'am.
With the ma'am coming at the background.
Meeta, ma'am is
Yeah, he's coming.
I'm here.
कितने लाख रुपए? 3 लाख का. नहीं वो जब बिकेगा 17,000 हो जाएगा वो.
I'll share you. I'll share you.
This is a program.
Okay, thank you, Meeta. Yeah.
Thank you. And sorry for the inconvenience. I will talk you later. Okay.